There we go. That would have been important to do before my announcement. Welcome everyone to the final fall 2021 Kalamazoo Climate Crisis Coalition meeting. Wow, this went by quick. Of course, our next our meeting won't be until the new year, January 14th. So I hope that folks are going to be able to enjoy some holiday season. Hopefully some winter actually comes. I'm very disappointed to see those 50-degree temperatures next week. Those of us that understand climate change, it's difficult to not enjoy a day with sun and 50 degrees in December, but on the other hand, we know what's happening. So just a word to the wise, right? Our next meeting isn't until January 14th. We've got some fun groups planned to go talk about food in January of all things. This coming Tuesday, December 14th, will be our last book club of the 2021 year. Tuesday, please join us 5:30, December 14th, Zoom for All Saving Us by Katharine Hayhoe, one of my I guess I would say I'm a fangirl of Katharine Hayhoe and her communication style. Very important book that we're reading on Tuesday night. If you haven't checked out our main website in a while, maybe Donna can throw that in the chat. Thank you to Steve Bertman, who has been doing an amazing heavy lifting job with the coordinating committee, Tom Hackley and Donna McClurkin and others to get that website in even better shape. And if you've been playing along with us, we've got some great new affiliates recently as well, including Asylum Lake Preservation Association, Natural Cycles Farm. Oh gosh, I shouldn't try to list because then I'm gonna forget someone. We've had a lot of really, West Michigan, Southwest Michigan Sustainable Business Forum is back in the coalition as well. So a lot of really great activity recently of diverse audiences. So please take a look at that. And also remember to submit to our blog. Okay, I think that's all of my announcements. Does anyone else have some general announcements that they would like to share before we go into today's program, which will be Kalamazoo Township? Then you got to listen a little bit more to me, and then League of Conservation Voters. Any other announcements, things that are going on? I see Tim and then Shannon.
Yeah, of course, this Saturday is the second Saturday of the month, which means the meeting of the Kalamazoo Citizens Climate Lobby chapter. Everyone's welcome to join us. It'll be around 2 o'clock. Thanks.
Thank you. Shannon.
I just want to share with everybody, if you or anybody that you know is interested or looking for work within the movement right now, Michigan LCV has 6 or more positions currently open and available. Some are full-time, some are part-time. So know that we have opportunities for that, and I'll put a link in the chat box in a moment.
Perfect. Jobs. Any other announcements anyone wants to make? Something that's going on that we should know about in your organization, from you personally? Okay, hearing none. I'm going to move us right along. Again, a jam-packed session here today. You should be able to share the screen on your own there. I am so pleased to welcome our Kalamazoo Township Climate Committee, which is led by Clerk Mark Miller, who is here today to give us an update on what we've been trying to do at the township level. Mark, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Denise. And can I share my screen? I'm going to try. There's a button here. And let's see.
I see a screen about Zoom apps. There you go.
There we go.
Perfect.
All righty. So I'm going to dive right in. Not many slides. And we're going to leave plenty of time for any questions or discussion people have, I hope. So back in 2019 in June, we did pass at the board level. Kalamazoo Township passed a climate emergency declaration. And there are a lot of words here, which I'm not expecting you to read at all. But you can certainly get it and read it on your own. However, it took us a little while after we passed this to get up and going. You know, we had, 2020 was the election year from hell. And so this April, we actually started with our committee, as I'll say in a moment. I just want to pull out one paragraph from that emergency declaration, which is Be it further resolved, the Charter Township of Kalamazoo joins a national call for a regional just transition and climate mobilization. I have to move my other thing here. Collaborative effort focused on transforming our region and rapidly catalyzing the mobilization at all levels of government to restore a safe climate. That's really important because we really need to have the collaboration aspect, and I'm going to dwell on that a little bit. And that has been, I'll say, a bit of a challenge. Hope we're getting there. We know that we need to collaborate with other levels of government and with other local municipalities. And to me, this is a must. Now, previously we had some meetings to share information about what each other are doing with respect to climate and environment more generally. When COVID came around, that kind of fizzled out. But in any event, it wasn't the deep level of collaboration that I'm talking about here. Again, we did form a new climate committee in April 2021, and I think 10 of us are here on this call right now. So I think I'm missing only one person who is traveling. That committee consists of 3 board members, myself and trustees Lisa Myrie, excuse me, and Ashley Glass. 2 staff members, our manager Dexter Mitchell and our executive assistant Jalen Gibson. 5 community members, Tim, we just heard from, Jennifer Drake, Nikki Lee, Denise herself. I don't know how Denise does what she does, but she is a township resident. And when I asked her for some suggestions, she said she would be happy to serve. And Paul Sutherland. Luke Hefferon is a WMU senior. He's on the call today, and he has participated as his climate change capstone, and he will speak to what that entailed in just a few minutes. I obviously cannot share everything that's in our plan in this session, but we have a number of objectives that we've broken down, and then each of these objectives has a number of strategies below it. And some of them are process and some of them are actually, what we're going to do to make a change. If anyone would like to see the current state of that, it's not on our website, but I'd be happy to share what we have. There's no secret. So it's a work in progress and will continue to be. The one thing I want to highlight from this is the recommendation for budget and staffing. And we have a bit of a conundrum here. Not to express any jealousy at all. We are so happy for our neighbors, but we don't have any friendly billionaires who are funding the township. So sadly, we have this situation where we know we can't do what we need to do just with volunteers. And yet at the same time, we don't have the budget for a position, what I would call, if we had it, a township climate czar. That's not there. So we're running what have been, how do we address this problem? And we'll talk more about that in a bit. And I think Denise will have something to say about that. I'm going to highlight for my part of this, the fact that we have, under the current administration, a very helpful and willing partner in the state of Michigan. Eagle has been rearranged. These are 3 of the sections in the sustainability section of Eagle. One of them is energy services. And I'll just show you a slide that they are helping to coordinate federal and state funding for programs. And they act as a resource for municipalities, counties, other institutions that might be going for funding, but they don't know how to go about that. There are an abundance of resources, including lots of stuff online, lots of white papers, lots of a point by point how you go about applying for something. So as we go forward in the new year and actually have our plan and start to implement our plan, this is going to be extremely helpful to us. Just two examples of these programs are something called Charge Up Michigan for installing a statewide network of EV chargers and charging stations, and providing funding grants for some of those. So the possibility is there. The last thing I'll talk about in any detail is a program called Soul Smart. And this is basically a national designation program, which means that there are a list of standards to be a welcoming solar community. And you earn so many points for each of the steps. This would be having an ordinance that is solar friendly, a zoning ordinance. It would be having building and zoning procedures that allow for quick approval of projects. And there are standards for all of these things. And if we get that designation, it gets publicized, and it's like a big solar is welcome sign for Kalamazoo Township. So those are just a few things that the state is offering for things that are for municipalities that are in exactly our position. We want to do stuff, not necessarily experts on everything. These resources are there. And I hope that those of you in this audience can talk to other municipalities, if you're part of them, and kind of say, hey, did you know about this? I'm going to turn it over right now to Luke. And this is his slide, and explain what he's been doing for us as part of his climate change capstone project at Western. Luke.
Hi, thank you, Mark. Yeah, so my name's Luke. I'm a senior at Western, and I've been working on this with the committee, Mark, Denise, and all of them, and they've been great. And I'll be done here with the spring. And so this has kind of been one of my last final projects at Western, but I was happy to work on it. So really the goal of this project was to create some sort of, clearinghouse landing page on the township website with a bunch of home energy efficient strategies in the area. So this way residents could see ways that they can make a difference now. Not just on their wallet, but obviously for climate change, because that is why we are all here trying to do this. Some of the resources we have, Helios Solar, Kalamazoo Valley Habitat for Humanity, 4 Elements Energy, Community Homeworks, Better World Builders, Solar Wind Power Systems. Helios Solar is just a great local solar installer that's been doing it for, I believe, about the past 10 years. They have resources even for nonprofits to better help them install solar arrays if they choose to do so. Kalamazoo Valley Habitat for Humanity, which I've actually had the pleasure of volunteering for before, great organization, and showing how you can repurpose old appliances so they don't necessarily go to waste. Because just because something is old doesn't mean it needs to get thrown out. Just because it's maybe not trendy, everything can still be used and still has a purpose. Community Homeworks, that's another great one. Really showing how lower income, how they can make their homes sustainable. So those types of things is kind of what we're trying to display and show for how everybody can kind of do their part. Another part of this project that you can kind of see on the right hand of the screen here is I was given a list of recent solar installs in the Kalamazoo area, and I mapped those, and Denise does have the link. Yep. If you wanted to share that and take a look at that. And so that's for, if you open that up and click on it, you can look at the solar installs. If one's located near you, you can see the type of array, the recent installation date, those types of things. It even does have the ability for later in the future, we talked about maybe even some sort of parade of homes, because even with still being separated for COVID, to be able to go online and see all that. And so each one of those pins on the map, if you would call it, has the ability to add a picture so you can actually check out the solar panel without necessarily driving around or those types of things. Kind of my background is I'm an urban planning student, and I do a lot of zoning work in the smaller communities in the Kalamazoo County, and we're right in Richland Township. And talking to my boss about it, in the past couple years, you've really seen this huge movement of people want to install solar panels. People want to install a small wind turbine on their lot if they can. And ultimately, we try to help them do so because those types of development is really something that we wanted to sort of strive for. So that's what I have. And it was a pleasure working with everybody on the committee.
Thank you very much, Luke. That's a wonderful project and very helpful to us. So we're super appreciative of what you've done. I see my house on there. It's one of the pins. Okay, I'm going to, this is my final slide, but I'm going to call on a couple of other people here very briefly to talk about some specific things. And one is Trustee Lisa. Floor is yours.
Hi there. So my name is Lisa Mwiri, and I'm a Kalamazoo Township Trustee. Before I joined the Board of Trustees, that is when the board had made the Climate Emergency Declaration. And I've always really cared about the climate since I learned just how serious of a problem our planet is facing. So when I was given the opportunity to join this committee, it was something I knew right away I wanted to be involved in. And so we're trying to do a lot of different things at once. And it can be very overwhelming, but we're in a unique position because the Kalamazoo Township is going to be building a new fire station that in Eastwood. And so the fire chief, Dave Albrighter, he has been very open to working with our committee to basically get that building from the design up. We're going to be trying to build features into it that will be protective of the climate. Basically, we're at this point, we're not planning to try to get a LEED certification, but we're trying to get the building to be designed at that same level, so it would be equivalent to that. And when we do this, we basically have built this relationship where we're planning to work with the designers. So we want the designers of this building to interact with the Township Climate Committee to consider proposals to expand renewable energy production and maximize energy efficiency in the design of the station in order to approach net zero energy use as closely as feasible, subject to budgetary constraints and the design requirements. So I'm just really excited about this because this will be the first new township building that will really be taking the climate into consideration.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And then before I close and hand it off to Denise, I'm going to call on our trustee, Ashley Glass, and she had a couple of questions that we had agreed upon.
Thanks, Mark. So based on what we've heard so far, I guess what we want to ask this group is, how do you see KCCC interacting with us, and in what ways could you maybe be a resource for us? So we've heard some of the initiatives that we're thinking about, things like promoting solar panels and wind and renewable energy sources, not only for our buildings, but for residents as well. So we are really looking at educating our community on what's available to them and how to use those resources, but also possibly looking at starting a program where we could do some sort of like assistance or scholarships to help people, you know, create that equity piece in there and make sure that we are bringing everybody along with us in the ways of energy efficiency and giving everyone the accessibility to those things. So, and then the other things are bringing in a countywide position or someone, you know, that can help us all collaborate. And that brings us to the Intergovernmental Collaboration. And so these are some of the initiatives and programs we're thinking about. Are there things that you think that we're missing? Are there things that you could help us with, any of you? And so do you think that there's other things that we should be doing now or have in mind? And then yeah, and how to connect with us. I was just going to let you know that all of our emails are on the website. So, and we'll probably send that information around too after, I'm guessing. And we hope to have a page up related to the committee with some more information. So we'll make sure that that gets out to everyone too. So we just really want to think about how can we work with you to help move the needle in the township. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ashley, very much. And we're really serious about those questions that we do need as much citizen input, even if you do not live in the township and you have some good ideas for us. And we don't have our kind of outline plan on the website yet, but it's not a secret either. So if anyone is interested in looking at where we're at this point, email one of us who are listed on the website. I might be the easiest to find. I'm Clerk, but any of us, and we can certainly pass that on to you. I just want to underline one more time. It's our strong belief that in order to succeed at this, we need to collaborate with other townships and the cities and with the county in order to make the vision that we have of decarbonizing our township government, in helping our residents do the same, all of this stuff, in order to make that happen. So I'm going to pass it off to Denise now again to talk about one strategy in that regard. And I think I need to stop sharing. There we go.
Well, first, thank you. Yay. You can see, you know, I have the pleasure of being on so many of these committees, but it's just the same work that I get to do over and over again. And my own little township trying to do this work, as Marcus said, on our own. It's just a fabulous group of folks. I would take just a minute or two if there are responses to Ashley's calls for, you know, how we can help, or questions for what the township is doing, just maybe a minute or two, because then I will hopefully answer a lot of the questions about the intergovernmental stuff in my talk. So, but any questions or response to the call to action here? I better get some other township residents on this committee with me. And I should mention our other education subcommittee member, Jennifer Drake, has been writing, if you do live in the township and you get your newsletter, right, we've been putting those in there to make sure. She did a great one on just, you know, do you know what's going on, and that we have this emergency declaration and this committee is trying to do this work. No questions, you're all just going to join the committee? I'll expect your emails to Mark by Monday. You're just so excited to hear from me and Shannon. All right, folks. Well, hearing none, it would be great, Mark and Ashley and Lisa, I think, as trustees and clerk, if y'all would be willing to put your township email address in the chat so that folks can have a way to follow up, that would be great. And it was great. Thank you so much, Luke. This is what we do with the capstone in our climate change studies minor. And so he's about to graduate. And so we try to pick projects like this. And yeah, Vicksburg would be a great one, Carol, that I would love to approach with you. Thank you. I'm going to ask for everybody's phone number later, so you're ahead of the game. I appreciate that very, very much. All right, folks. Well, just to keep us sort of going here, I think that I'll just, we've been talking about, and I know I introduced it very briefly at the beginning, the restart of Fridays for Future in October, but I wanted to give you a little bit more clarity and organization around what could be a county-wide campaign that I'm hoping each and every one of you will be participating in. And then I'll roll right into Shannon Abbott's lead conservation presentation, because she'll be talking about how we can make the most effective collective action public comments. So I'll just go ahead and get started. Thank you so much, Mark, and the Climate Township Committee. So again, just to remind us here, we are supposed to be mobilizing collective action in this group, right? This is exactly that call to action that Mark and the Township Committee are talking about. That's why KCCC truly was formed. And that is our entire mission, is to utilize the folks that are in this group in order to make that happen. Of course, we've been doing that through our Fridays for Future by letting groups and individuals come in and let us know what they're doing, what's happening, and how we can get involved with a variety of different groups and actions that are taking up. We're at almost 40 affiliates now, folks. Different, businesses, education, all of our faith community, our regular environment and climate groups, to the League of Women Voters. That's a lot of folks. And there are, again, about 2,000 folks on that email list that you get from me. We have not, I do not think, in my opinion, really utilized our voices in the way that I think we intended to when we first started. So just a little bit about what might we want. And this has been work that the coordinating committee and the township committee have really been guiding my actions on this. What do we want? Well, there are a lot of newly elected officials, right? We passed these climate emergency declarations in 2019, and when KCCC was formed. Of course, we've been living in a pandemic ever since, and so there's been some delay, but we did have an election, right? There are new elected officials in each one of those bodies, and I'm happy to see Ashley and Lisa as new trustees taking on this responsibility, right? But some of those folks don't know that we have these climate emergency declarations or know about us and how strongly residents really want climate action. So we have an opportunity to educate new elected officials that came in since 2020, and then to continue to hold those governments that did pass climate emergencies accountable to them, right? I know that it's been a very difficult couple of years for all of us, and we also know that there's no time to wait on taking our climate action. I also think things like Vicksburg, thanks for saying that, Carol, right? All of the other townships and cities and villages within Kalamazoo County, we could also be asking them to pass that first step of a climate emergency declaration. And more, my attention and the coordinating committee's attention is focused on creating climate action plans and this idea for a county-wide climate coordinator. I've called it the czar before. I probably won't put that language in the formal resolution, but that is also how I first introduced this idea and how many of us think about it. Again, Mark really set me up well here. The idea that all of us are trying to reach the same goals, and we have an organization right here that can help us put the right people together. And we really do need that collaboration. And so I'll talk a little bit more about what that might look like here at the end. What we hope to do today is to really start to build out our capacity to be able to run a county-wide campaign to do those actions, educating new officials, getting more climate emergency declarations, getting climate action plans written and done, and having them coordinated at the county level with a new staff position to be able to really bring all of that together. In order to do that and use our collective voice effectively, I have your email, right? And hopefully you follow us on social media, but we're going to need to know a few other things about that. And we're hoping that you're going to be willing to share with us your address and phone number so we can really start to build a contact database, right? This is how organizations who mobilize collective action really work. And I think Donna might have the link to my forum in the chat if she hasn't already. What's going to be coming out in the fun emails that you get from me, probably Monday at this point, frankly, will be this call for all of us. Again, if there are 2,000 of us and we can figure out where we live, and I can do some text to call actions, if you would be willing to be a messenger for the coalition on climate action, and then help us by sharing your contact information so we can help you figure out, who are your elected officials, and really work together to make sure that we're targeting the right action in the right township, city, village, and at the county level. And so really my goal today was to launch this form that hopefully all of you will fill out to share that information. Again, if you already know or have connections with elected officials, that is the best place to start with those relationships. But we really feel like with that information, we could organize a more effective campaign. And then what we're going to be doing is reviewing the best practices for effective public comment. That's why Shannon Abbott from League of Conservation Voters is here today. Okay, we know what we want, and maybe we can start organizing who we should target and contact. Then we need to talk about our messaging. What do we want to say, and how do you develop really good, effective public comment? And so we're going to get started on that today as well, and a little bit of a start at developing our messaging and talking points. And my pictures there are to remind you that almost all of you have already given public comment without a coordinated campaign, not knowing what your coordinated message was going to be, and you all still were able to wear green and speak really articulately at city meetings, at township meetings, at Portage, and really bring those emergency declarations home. And so I know you have the skills and talent, and what we're asking today is to think about how we can better coordinate to just be a little bit more efficient in how we go about that, and to really move, again, this collective action piece. So you've heard me talk about the 24, the gang of 24 before. I need to come up with a good slogan here. Someone can probably help me with that. There are 24 governmental units just in our little county, folks. Wow, okay, and all of them are at different levels of their awareness of climate change, of, again, who's passed an emergency declaration, who is working on a particular climate action plan. It is my guess that almost 2,000 of us, again, that we probably represent a fair amount of these 24 locations. And again, as we build this campaign, what we can do is target specifically, again, Carol, thank you, Vicksburg, you live in these places, and it is always best for a constituent to speak to their elected officials about these things, right? We can mobilize all of us to help with that, but it's always great to know where someone lives. That's why I'm asking for your address, and so that I can call or text you or email you, however you prefer to do that, and really do this together, because no one should give public comment alone, I feel like, either. Politics is a sport best done together. So the first kind of the messaging part that we're going to work on a little bit today, and in thinking about effective public comment, it really seems like there are two different first primary targets. And the first one is, everyone who has already passed a climate emergency declaration. That does give us a way in, right? A footing to start with. And right now, of course, the township, as you just heard, the city of Kalamazoo, as you heard last month, and I expect that draft plan to be out in January. And I believe, as far as I understand, someone can correct me, the city of Portage are all working toward some version of a climate or sustainability action plan. And what we can do with our collective voice, especially those of you that live in the township or the city or in Portage, can do is support that planning effort, right? We got to be calling in. We got to be offering our expertise and our services to let those folks know that we want them to be doing that work, and we support that work in every way that we can. What we've sort of come to in the coordinating committee, and you heard from the township level, is each little township is not going to be able to do it all on their own, right? We're writing a whole climate action plan for the township, but of course we need larger level coordination. And the first push that we've sort of decided on this target is to go back to the county. Again, a lot of newly elected officials, There is a climate emergency declaration on the books, and we feel like there is an opportunity for townships that already are supporting climate action. Maybe we'll be able to put a little money or budget or skin in the game and ask the county to revisit that climate emergency declaration and start there. And so that's really where we see the first leg of the campaign going. I do think it will broaden out to the other 24 subunits within the Kalamazoo County. So if you're not familiar, and Donna, thank you for being my logistical assistant here today. If you could put the county board in the chat, right? Almost all of us live in Kalamazoo County. There's a few folks in the coalition that don't, but the vast majority of us, I think, do. Again, that's why I need your address to make sure. But if you might not know your county commissioner, the county operates on a ward or district based, so you actually have a unique person that represents you based on your geographic address, right? And this site that's going in the chat now, you can find, your maps for those districts. I will warn you that the maps are quite terrible. It's kind of difficult, and the clerk is laughing, so I know I'm in good company here. It can actually be a little difficult for you to figure out exactly who is your county commissioner based on those maps and those words. And maybe we'll get Luke to create a new map for us about that as well. But there are ways to find that out. It takes a few clicks. Again, if you don't already know, that's why we're asking for that contact information so we can help you figure out who that particular person is. And so the current, this is the current board. It is also a partisan board. The current makeup is 7 Democrats and 4 Republicans. We have some returning commissioners that do know about our climate emergency. Chair Tracy Hall and Commissioner Quinn both voted yes and returned, and so they'll have some history and know about us. We also have 2 returning folks that voted no, that voted against our climate emergency declaration. So if you live in Commissioner Gisler's or Commissioner Tunier's district, then we're going to have a different message, right, that you may need to say to them. The other new commissioners maybe don't know that we have a climate emergency declaration at the county level and what all those other units are trying to do and what kind of coordination we might be able to make. So one thing that, again, hopefully with your addresses, we'll be able to help organize who and where you can be calling in, going to meetings, and making this a collective action voice happen. The board meets the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays, and you can, if you look at the website and go to the bylaws, you'll see all the rules for public comment that we can help you with. And you'll also see how to give that public comment. And so I won't go into all those details today. Today is really about launching this campaign and thinking about messaging. And for messaging, I'm very excited. I think my colleague, Dave Reinhold, well, he's retired on us, is here today to sort of walk us through this. Hope for Creation, as usual, one of our great affiliates, great organization here in town, uniting different faith organizations, has already kind of started this campaign and started thinking about what message they might give, and the same idea of targeting the county level. That's how I always know I've got a good idea, when there's already people doing it. And sort of I just sort of took some of your words, Dave. Do you want to speak about this, or anyone from Hope for Creation?
I can start, and then I see Ruth's on here and Steve's on here, so maybe they can join in. First of all, what we actually presented Tuesday in the public comment was edited from what my original one draft was. So I want to give Toby Hannah Davies the kudos for making it better than what I did. But basically all we did is Hope for Creation has kind of been talking about the same things as Mark talked about and others have talked about, and that is there are lots of people around. Why are we working in a vacuum? And that doesn't make any sense. And so Denise actually talked to our group a couple months ago and suggested going to the county. And so I produced a draft so that we could just read that at the county meeting rather than trying to ad lib like I'm doing right now, so that it was a good message. And basically all I did is I'd look back at their 2019, not the action plan, but the declaration, and I pulled words out of it. And actually within their declaration, there were 2 things that seemed very, very pertinent to what Hope for Creation and what sounds like what's going on here were. And one is, well, they have a statement in there that talks about collaboration and, you know, faith groups and county, you know, governmental groups and stuff. So I pulled that out. And the other thing I pulled out of that was that they do have a comment in there about making an emergency plan. I have no idea where it is and what is. So one of the asks we made of them was to update us on any information they had in their plan, and then volunteered whatever help we could give them to help them make that plan. And so I think, you know, what Denise is talking about, you know, getting this list of people together that are interested, you know, will be a powerful list, because it will show the county that there's a lot of people that care about this and that are willing to work on it. You know, one of the things in the draft document was, the last line was that, you know, Hope for Creation doesn't have a lot of resources, but we got people that are willing to give, you know, every inch of their being to you know, the climate crisis. So you know, so that was our start. I know we've already gotten at least one person who has contacted us about it. So at least it wasn't, you know, totally ignored. But hopefully, you know, and getting this group of people together that Denise is talking about, and this cooperation, we can move that forward.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And thank you for letting me share your drafts at this. There is sort of a rhythm, right, to introducing yourself and sharing a little personal story. And we're hoping that basis for action can really be the climate emergency declaration, and having an ask and also an offer, right, for us to help folks do this. And again, Shannon's going to talk much more about how to develop effective messaging. Did anyone else from Hope for Creation want to chime in? Go ahead, Ruth. I can't really see people. You just got to go.
Yeah, I just want to really express appreciation for the work that Dave did putting this together. And my personal intention is to follow this general script and to follow it pretty closely, but also when I make comment, to remark on a particular thing that the county is doing or in the process of making decisions about. You know, for example, just this week, they announced that they're opening applications for money to use the millage for lower income housing in the county. And so my first comment to them is on the 21st. So I'm planning to mention at that meeting, you know, that look, they're just starting to distribute all of this money for constructing residences. And so to please pay attention to climate issues and energy efficiencies and things like that in that. And so, and I expect that a similar opportunity will exist every time, at least that I make a comment.
Yeah, thank you for that. Again, that's the sort of goal. Hopefully you're seeing how this might work now. If all of us know a little bit about what we could be saying, and we know who we should be contacting, and we can help coordinate that and help understand, okay, what else is going on that's in the minds of elected officials and staff at that moment that we can connect to, then we can become a very, very powerful collective action machine, my fine friends. And so that's sort of the first part. I really think step one is reminding everyone of these climate emergency declarations and getting that awareness kind of back in the vernacular, and coming to meetings and learning how to do it with this sort of easy first step. And just very briefly, the second and harder step coming soon will be to really then ask for this climate coordinator at the county level. And so again, this idea has been percolating around for, oh gosh, since probably the summer. Right now, there is a draft for a position description, a draft that is being worked on by your Climate Crisis Coalition Coordinating Committee and by the Township Committee, because those are the two areas where this has really come up. Anyone who wants to help work on what that job description should look like, you know, what should this person be doing and how should that be organized? We're going to be doing that over about the next month and probably into January. So it's my hope that we'll start going to meetings with just the basic climate messaging that you just heard in January. And we'll be developing this fuller proposal for the climate czar. We'll call it climate coordinator in those documents probably. That we'll be doing that then shortly thereafter. So once we kind of get our feet wet again with giving public comment, then we'll have a really big ask about how do we get, again, all these townships that want to be part of this, right? And what can maybe they contribute to this larger ask. So be looking out for that document and that to kind of come out in January. And if you want to help with that or have some specific expertise, please let me know and I can get you worked into that. But for now, I think we're going to stick with doing this kind of messaging, again, to get it back on the radar of everyone. And what I want to do now is turn it over to our fine colleagues who, you know, everybody has to listen to me for way too long. And thank you to Hope for Creation for, you know, hearing my version of how to give effective public comment. And the real experts are here today, though. I learned most of this through working with the conservation voters and other organizations. And we have Shannon Abbott here today, our Southwest Michigan field coordinator from League Conservation Voters, to talk to us a little bit more about just so it's in our minds, right? What do we really need to think about as we think about giving effective public comment? Shannon, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Denise. You know, I'm going to try my darndest to give a few minutes for questions at the end here, but know that you can always reach out as well. And I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to go a few minutes over, so I apologize. As many of you know, my name is Shannon Abbott, and I am the West Michigan Field Organizer with the Michigan League of Conservation Voters. Michigan LCV is a nonpartisan political organization in Michigan with land, air, and water at the center of all of our work. Today, I'm going to dive into the generalized how of giving public comment. First, let's talk about activism. Many people, when they think of activism, they think about marching and rallies or protesting. With the Kalamazoo Climate Crisis Coalition, activism has come in those forms, in addition to the Fridays for Future series, our blog spot, and last year's nonpartisan candidate forum, and more. Activism isn't just one thing, and there is a way for every single person to be an advocate or an activist. I like to think of activists in 3 stages of progression. The first stage is all about gaining awareness. So that moment where you're like, wait, what? Climate change is a problem and it affects me? I didn't realize. I think I want to learn about it. That activation and learning is the first step in activism. Then it moves on to behavior change. That's when you realize that your actions or non-actions have an impact and you can be contributing to the problem. Like, oh no, I'm a part of this problem and I'm making climate change worse. What can I do to make things better? Which rounds us out to influencing. This is the point where folks realize there are actions that they can take to influence others, where they say, this impacts all of us, not just me or them. This is too much for me to do alone, and I need others to take action too. Today, we're going to be focusing a little bit more on the influencing stage, specifically where it pertains to public comment. Every person, though, through this process is an activist. By learning and asking questions, by making personal changes and encouraging others to do the same, and even by going to public meetings and stating your case on a particular issue. I would like to acknowledge something real quick, and that's that each of these stages can be really overwhelming for people for various reasons. So meeting people where they're at and making the issues digestible is super important. Ultimately, we're all taking these steps already, which is why we're here today. Before we dive into the type of public comments, I want to talk about the purpose of public comments. Public comments are a powerful tool to make your voice heard on an issue, to bring awareness to an issue, and to influence your elected officials, especially, and government leaders on that issue. There are a few ways to give public comment, including calling your elected official, writing a comment, or making a comment at a virtual or in-person meeting. The length of the public comment can vary depending on the type of comment that you're making. For phone calls, know that you can always call your elected officials. During business hours, you'll often be connected with a staff member. If you call after hours, you can leave a voicemail. These tend to be a shorter 30-second to 1-minute message about the issue that you care about and that you want them to take action on. With written comment, oftentimes before a city or county commission or other decision-making meetings, there is a deadline for when you could submit a written comment directed towards that specific meeting or issue topic. There are often also guidelines around your comment, such as a character count. So you can submit written comments in person sometimes, through an email, or via a letter anytime. And with virtual or in-person meetings, you can make verbal comments by scheduling a meeting with your public official, attending a coffee hour, or giving comment at a public hearing. When making verbal comment at a public hearing, such as a county commission meeting, like we're talking about here, there are often guidelines around how long your comment can be. This is 2 to 3 minutes usually, but you can always make sure to confirm that beforehand. Public hearings may not always be directly influential to decision makers or accomplish the direct goal that you set out for, but it can always show group strength and size. It can create a venue for media to cover the issue, and it can also slow down this decision-making process. Today, we're going to be diving into verbal public comment, but the principles that we're going to be going over apply to any other types of public comment situations too. So first, on the day of your public comment, it's important to plan and coordinate. Know your audience, know your venue, which means that you should be prepared as to the structure of what you're walking into. A public comment over the phone, email, or in person at a legislator's office is different than a town hall or another public hearing or a county commission meeting. Give a pro tip: if you're giving an in-person or virtual comment, sometimes you can tune into a similar meeting or recording beforehand to get a general idea of the process. Everyone should be easily identified. So if your group has buttons, t-shirts, lapel pins, or hats, wear them. If you're able to set up a literature table outside at an in-person hearing, that's always great too. You can give people a sticker or something to take with them, ask them to sign a petition or to join your group. Having someone from the group prepare a fact sheet to hand out to the panel and to any folks that you're bringing is really great too. You can include information about your group, like contact information, regular meeting times, or other things, not just about your stance on the issue. With a time limit, you can use a group of speakers to build off of one another, which requires some preparation ahead of time and definitely some organization prior to the day of, so that everyone has their correct points and goes in the right order. If you're making a public comment in person or at a virtual meeting, you can make a copy of your verbal comment or an even longer written version if you had more to say and not long enough time to say it, and you could submit as a written comment as well. If you're making a verbal comment, do your best to speak clearly and into the microphone if one is available. And although you may be under a time limit, try not to speak too quickly, unlike what I'm doing right now. There is an art to public comment. Go ahead and go to the next slide. If you are too aggressive, if you don't share enough supporting information, or if you take far too much time, these can have a negative impact on what you're trying to accomplish. Things to take into consideration are your best practices, preparing talking points, and templating or drafting your comment ahead of time. I'll take a moment to run through these best practices and a basic template with you right now. So you really want to draft your comment beforehand. A huge part of influencing others is in your passion and storytelling based on values. So be ready to share why you care and how this has or can impact you. Keep this short though. Passion gets you there and can help us to relate to individuals, but reason gets us there. Understand and identify who you'll actually be hearing, or who will actually be at the hearing and who you're maybe reading the comment to. Is it a true decision maker? If so, direct your comments to that individual. Do they have a specific perspective? Try to tie in their values into your comment. Use specifics for that decision maker that they can reference. For example, if you're making a public comment about local climate action, you can reference the county declaration that Denise was just talking about as well. Share your organizational and personal affiliations strategically. Although environmental organizations are working towards similar goals, all of us have different strategies for change and can carry a reputation, whether that's positive or negative. If you're affiliated with an organization, feel empowered to use their talking points and resources. Those are typically created carefully and strategically, and using vetted talking points may help provide you with credibility and a stronger language for what you're actually saying. Use the talking points, but also make sure that you're incorporating your own voice, and then practice. As I mentioned, you are only afforded typically 2 to 3 minutes. And usually if you're making a public comment or an in-person virtual meeting, and sometimes with the written comments, you can be limited again to a character count. So be sure that you use all of that really well. Key components of public comment, it's really using a templated format that you should be considering, which here we have, starting with a greeting, which is introducing yourself, sharing your name, what town, district, or site you're from, stating your position. So what is your objective? What are you trying to accomplish? Grabbing their attention. So a powerful opening sentence can be a huge game changer for the attention of your audience. Share a personal story and explanation. When doing this, you want to focus on key points and really personalize your message with what this means to you and how you are willing to, or how are you going to be impacted. And create a compelling closing. This closing will ultimately sum up your message and your position, but this should be brief and to the point. Then using vetted information, which cannot be stressed enough. This should be a breeze for this group because we have some really wonderful people putting information together. But when adding information in, make sure that you don't lie or make things up, and make sure that you can trust your resources. Misinformation can really have a major impact on your group and on on the decisions ultimately for action. Use talking points for groups and resources that you can trust. And if you're an expert, make sure that they know what your qualifications and experience are to help support your statement. Once you've templated your comments, go ahead, next slide. Practice, practice, practice. What you'll need to do this are your template and draft, additional and handy talking points. Again, on the day of, you might want to take notes additionally from talking points from any presentations that went prior to yours. Find a way to time yourself to ensure that you're keeping within any time limitations, because usually they will cut you off, and follow any best practice recommendations that we've already went over. Then once you've practiced, make any appropriate edits that you see fit. Did you go over time? Part on your speaking notes, but feel free to also have your written comments be longer. If you do this, note in your verbal comments that there's additional information in your written comments so that you would like to be considered. So an example of this would be, for the sake of time and allowing others to speak, I'll end here. However, I'm leaving a copy of my written comments with you that expand my statement and have additional resources information. Please take a look. Once you're satisfied with your verbal and written versions, print a copy for you and the panel. And again, practice, practice, practice. I'm going to do a quick recap for us. I know we're rounding out at time. Sorry, Denise. Connect with your group. Know what you're making public comment on. Know how your group wants to present comment. Know your audience and what form of public comment you'll be giving. Identify who will hear or see your comment, whether it's your city commissioner, county commissioner, state representative, and so on. Be familiar with the platform that you're using, such as a phone call, written comment, virtual or in-person meeting, and its parameters. And consider how much time you have to talk or how long your comment, written comment can be. Review your talking points and resources. Draft your personalized comment. Practice and review your comment and edit if necessary, then practice again. submit or give your comment. And lastly, follow up. We didn't talk about this yet, but whether it's leaving a written comment after you share your verbal, connecting back with your group for next steps, keeping track of what your comment was on and where that process stands, or even circling back with who you gave the comment to and thanking them for their time. I will be sure to share with Denise and Donna a copy of our super basic public comment template that we hope, again, to share with all of you. This presentation is obviously recorded. Thank you for letting me speak super fast and going over time. And thank you everyone for your time and attention. Denise, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Yay, thank you so much, Shannon. And I should recognize Abby Barker on the call here too, who we worked on this presentation last week to get things in line. And so everyone, of course, went a little bit over time today. So we're not following our first golden rule of telling you to stay on time in your public comments, right? So thank you so much for that. I hope folks can kind of begin to see as we wrap things up today, where this campaign could go and why we need to work together. If we really need to follow that kind of template like Shannon just laid out. And please let us in the coalition help understand who you're talking to, what we are saying, and what it might work with those folks, right? We really have a great group of really dedicated folks where we are at the point where we can utilize our collective voice to be strategic. And we have so many great partners and affiliates that know how to do this already, from Citizens Climate Lobby to League of Women Voters to League Conservation Voters with us to help us. We're gonna be rock stars at this. Is my goal for all of you in 2022. Are there questions, comments, reactions, advice? Are you ready to get activated? I always think of the Power Twins. Activate. Yeah, you ready? Okay, I'll let you have your holidays first, and then you're gonna be ready, okay? What are folks thinking? Are there any reactions or comments? Yeah, go ahead. I see Mark and then Dave.
Just as a veteran elected official who has listened to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of public comments over the years, I want to thank Shannon for a wonderful outline of how to make your comments most effective. And if everybody followed those, our life would be so much better. But then I want to add one footnote to that, which is if you don't have time to do all that practice and it's the last minute and you have something to say, also don't be afraid of speaking. Yeah. Don't think that you have to follow everything, as wonderful as that outline was. It's your voice. If it's the last minute, go for it.
Really excellent point, Mark. We want to help. If you want that help, everyone should be doing this in their own voice. And Mark is absolutely right, because he's a good elected official who does want to hear from you. And I should have mentioned that we got so many elected officials in our group, prior or current, that can help us really craft those messages as well. Dave.
Just quickly, before I wrote that draft, I actually attended a county commission meeting. I listened to what people gave in the comments. I think that helped me tremendously in writing it, because it really shows what not to do. And so I would recommend, if you're going to give a comment to any group, go to a meeting first to see what it's like and listen to what people do. And there were some good ones, but it was more what not to do than to do.
Yeah. It's really, really helpful. And that's what we hope to create for everyone, is a schedule of all those meetings. And then again, have us coordinate and go to the same ones where you can speak directly to your elected officials and not go alone and feel supported. And KCCC has got your back there a little bit. Yeah, Steve.
Yeah, Denise, I guess I was just going to ask you to expand on what you just mentioned. Like, what is the degree of coordination that affiliates can expect from the coalition? Where can they find the information? How much detailed coordination of messaging or timing are we talking about?
Yeah, so I think what we're thinking about, it's a great question. I don't know that I have it all figured out, because a lot of this is rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat in following up and adapting whenever you're starting to engage at this level, right, with our government and elected officials. And so what I'm hoping is that everyone fills out that contact form, and that will give me the best idea of how we are distributed geographically throughout our Kalamazoo County, and who we really can be targeting on a constituent level and as a broader KCCC level. And then I'm hoping that following Shannon Lead Conservation Voters template and advice, what the coordinating and the Crisis Coalition will do is start to get those templates out. Like you saw that example, and Hope for Creation is already ahead of us there on the first part of that messaging, to get those statements out. Of course, people need to personalize those. So I envision us hosting a workshop or two, or spending about 10 minutes of every meeting in 2022, walking through what those comments are looking like and what kind of feedback and adaptation we need to make, as well as helping coordinate folks about when meetings are, who else lives in their particular district, so that they can coordinate and go to those together and do the building off of each other. So I do envision a lot of help in knowing who you're talking to, what you can be saying, and who you can be going with, and when and where your meetings are. Just one other quick little side note there. I was going to go a little bit further today, but I was a little hesitant in some of those, because I think a lot of our meetings are going to start changing from from virtual to in person again, or I think there's going to be different public comment opportunities in 22 than there are right now. And so I think that our help can be a lot about, okay, just is it 3 minutes? And we need a coordinated campaign of some folks calling, some folks writing the long email, and some folks showing up at meetings to keep it in that public buzz sphere. So that was a lot. So sorry, coordinating committee is going to be doing a lot of work that I probably haven't let you know about yet. I'm hoping to really lead that charge. Again, I see this as really the only way that we're going to move this forward in our county right now. Does that answer most of your question? Yeah, I think a lot of it is just about knowing who to contact and a little bit of a starter of what to say and practicing that. And then I think we'll get some responses fairly quickly, and we'll have to adapt. The thing that, if you love politics if you like living in the moment, okay? I think I saw Ashley and then Nikki, but Nikki, go ahead. Ashley, you raised it down. Go ahead, Nikki.
Okay. Supporting what would be called legal action, meaning going to public forums. Are we also going to start supporting activists who are not destroying things, but possibly doing something downtown, etc.?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think that those, and Shannon said that well in her presentation, those actions go together. What I'm suggesting is a really targeted, strategic elected official campaign, but you're absolutely right. Without continuing our education, our Fridays for Future, and potentially other activities and actions like re-engaging with the strikes in the spring, we need a continuum of actions. We have a variety of different affiliates that each take a different approach. And I hope that we can support all of that. What I'm willing to lead is this particular piece, and I hope other leaders will emerge on all of those fronts, Nikki. Ashley, did you have a quick? I saw you like debating, and then she took it down.
I was just gonna ask, can we help you share that contact form to other people?
Oh my gosh, please, yes.
Okay, so just send that link and that they should be able
Yes.
to use it. Okay, cool.
Yes, and so I want to wait for this recording to be on YouTube. So
Okay.
Tim, you'll get my email. Of course, Tim Tesser, thank you, our Google and YouTube guru over there, always converts these MP4s into YouTube for me. So once he gets done with that, which usually it takes a long time actually to download and then re-upload these. So I'm hoping that this will come out Monday as an email to the coalition, this ask to fill out the contact form and why. That's why I want this presentation to go with it, so that folks can see what it is the township is doing, what it is I think I'm trying to outline and talk about, and how we can give public comment so that they have that video. And now I hope absolutely your jobs are to go be ambassadors for this campaign. You don't look excited enough out there in Zoom world. Huh? I've been waiting to launch this for like 3 months, as many of you know. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Steve. Woo! Thank you, Susan. All right, all right. I see you out there. I know we went a little over today. I apologize for again breaking my own rule of keeping on time with our busy lives. And I know we're missing a lot of faculty from Western today. There's a big union meeting going on, and I know folks have a lot going on with everything right now. So I think, you know, now is the time to kind of go back and fill out that contact form, keep up with what we're doing the next week or so. And then really, I'm hoping in January that we're going to be ready to hit the ground running and have a few folks starting to go to meetings or give phone or email comments in some way, again, to get it back on the radar and make climate action a priority in this county. And we'll move towards that climate coordinator position. Again, if you want to weigh in on that document and what that should look like, I know I've shared it with a bunch of key folks on this Zoom already. If you want to be part of that drafting, please let me know so that we're ready to hit the ground running. Well, with that, again, we don't officially meet again until January 14th. So do watch out for emails and other social media and ways to engage and launch this campaign with us. I need every single one of you. Again, this is how we can actually make things and make a difference. So I hope everyone is also able to, again, take a little rest, enjoy a little winter, and celebrate any holidays that you celebrate, and have a happy Julian calendar new year anyways. And we will see you for sure back here January 14th. Thanks, everyone.